war never changes. It is one of the most destructive and dehumanizing parts of human nature. It brings nothing but terror and fear within those who experience it, and the wrath and fury of those who conduct it. Thus, it is all the more surprising when enclaved by such depressive forces, we often see glimpses of kindness and humanity shine through like a beacon. These stories have captivated many for not only the contradicting nature of the context in place, but also the sheer happiness and hope they can bring to one. Join us as we explore these glimpses of humanity throughout history.
The Enemy is a story written by author Pearl S. Buck. It details the encounter between a Japanese surgeon and an American prisoner of war and the tale of how the surgeon managed to save and care for the soldier despite him being the enemy. We asked our group members some questions regarding their views on their chapter, and here are their thoughts.
What do you think Dr. Sadao's mindset was when he found out that an injured American prisoner washed up on the shore?
Dr. Sadao was a Japanese surgeon, and this story was based during the World War II. Due to these facts, he was put in a huge dilemma as he could not let the patient die being a doctor, nor could he help an American being a patriot. However, Dr. Sadao chose humanity over nationality and nursed the patient back to life and also saved him. It sure did mean putting his own life and his family's at risk, but he was ready to do this for this brave act of humanity. Was Dr. Sadar right when he saved the patient's life? Why do you think he was willing to take this risk, knowing it could cost him his as well as his family's life?
I definitely think that Sadao was right in saving the prisoner's life. I don't think that taking him in and taking care of him was the easiest decision for Sadao. I think he was very conflicted between protecting his family and being a good citizen, but at the end of the day, his duty to be a good doctor and save lives was the most important thing to him. So his humanity and his kind of need to be a good, decent human being was what made him willing to take any and every risk to save his life.
What explains the attitude of the general in the matter of the enemy soldier? Was it human consideration, lack of national loyalty, dereliction of duty, or simply self-absorption?
I feel like the general's attitude towards the enemy soldier was a stark contrast to that portrayed by Sadao. Even though a general's duty is to serve his country without question, the general himself was a selfish person and he did not care much about the country. Rather, he just cared about his own surgery. And for that he was willing to turn a blind eye.
While hatred against a member of an enemy race is justifiable, especially during wartime, what makes a human being rise above all narrow prejudices?
Well, there are few important issues raised by the lesson enemy. Its duty towards one's profession versus nation. Dr. Sadao should have handed over the prisoner of war to the police, but his profession prevented from this to happen. Dr. Sadao treated him and saved his life, yet being a traitor to his own country. His servants, on the other hand, left him, and he rose above narrow prejudices to save the American soldier and also helped him escape to freedom after having nurtured him. He proved love, compassion for human beings was instinctive.
The entry of the United States in support of the Allies marked a turning point in the western half of the war, where the US Air Force tasked themselves with the bombing of major strategic points within Germany. This particular incident would take place on one such routine bombing run on the 20th of December 1943. Above the skies of Bremen, Germany, a squadron of B-17 bombers prepare to unleash their load, when suddenly they are hit by a barrage of anti-air fire. Lieutenant Charles Brown, captaining the plane, is one of the many who faced the brunt of the attack. Shrapnels puncture the cockpit, blowing frigid air into the cabin while also damaging one of the 4 engines of the B-17. However, the anti-air barrage wouldn't be the last of their problems, as the now retreating squadron was attacked by over a dozen enemy aircraft, Brown's already battered aircraft was forced to ward off relentless attacks which slowly carved through the aircraft's vital systems like oxygen and hydraulics. Guns jammed in the cold, freezing air, and the rear gunning officer was killed. As the first wave of fighters retreated, Brown's B-17 was still in the air, its life hanging by a thread. The plane was then spotted by Franz Stigler, an ace in the German Air Force, who soon took air in pursuit of Brown's plane. Upon catching up with ease, Fritz remarked in disbelief on how the plane was still flying in perilous conditions. Flying with the power of a single engine, a single bullet could down the whole aircraft. Stigler, however, decided not to fire that bullet. Hailing from a family of knights, his upbringing made sure that he would not harm a defenseless enemy. Stigler could also hear the voice of his commanding officer, who once told him, "You follow the rules of war for you, not your enemy. You fight by rules to keep your humanity." Stigler first gestured to the B-17 to land onto a German airfield and to surrender. Unfortunately, Brown, being in an extremely stressful situation, failed to understand Franz. Franz knew that the only option would be to guide the plane safely onto the English Channel, such that the other German aircrafts would not intercept it. Stigler, even while knowing that his act could be a threat to his life and considered as treason, ensured that the B-17 made it back safely. However, he never spoke of the incident until years after the end of the war. He showed the pinnacle of humanity, for he saved lives regardless of any physical gain from the event. Events like these can be found scattered throughout the annals of history, and though no philosopher or historian will ever credit the likes of Stigler or Sadao with winning any wars, they helped with something much more important and sacred: the preservation of human spirit.